Man. I just want to take a few minutes this morning to kind of, speak to the violence that's been going on. That's really just plaguing, man. I didn't know the violence was so bad on that level, man. And I'm seeing it that it's bigger than I guess than a lot of us imagined or a lot of us thought it may have been if you've ever paid attention to it. But anyways, man, I see that a lot of our youth are falling victim to a lot of this black on black violence. Now, I know we talk about the police brutality, and let's continue to talk about the police brutality. Let's make the modifications where the modifications need to be made. But, guys, man, our gang violence, our youth that's running to gangs to join gangs and participate in the violence. Man, and even some that's not even in the gangs. Some that's just out here road, just renegade. Just like, man, I'm finna get out here, I'm finna hit a lick, do what I need to do, blase, blase. And just the pure glorification. And we'll get to the glorification of women out here hustling. But right now we ain't talking about that because that's not necessarily as violent as just us out here jacking and promoting distribution of narcotics that potentially cause violent situations to escalate. Not saying that you should not hustle, do what you gotta do, but man, you should have respect enough to do business in the right way. Not always trying to, you know, hit a lick or put somebody's life in jeopardy behind some change. Now, I was just watching a few of these videos about a lot of these rappers and a lot of these guys catching these cases, especially a lot of these federal cases, through a lot of the things they putting out on the internet, a lot of the stuff that they doing. And man, when that's really just become a okay trend. I'm even skeptical on even just speaking on this, just even speaking on a non-violent issue. I'm like, man, should I even be talking on this? But at the same time, I feel like it's a passion of mine. I am an educator, so I do want to do my part as far as trying to influence the youth that may be misguided and undecided and trying to know which way to go. What I stress and what I try to tell them and I tell everybody is that you're gonna be young, you're gonna go through, especially if you're growing up in the hood where we grew up, you're gonna go through those moments. Excuse me, just this camera trying to get it a little lower. This light might be too bright, that's why I kinda had it tilted, but let's see. There you go. Man, even like that, I guess it's gonna still slide big. But yeah, that's straight. But anyway, so growing up in the hood or whatever, you're gonna grow through, especially if you grew up in single parent homes, or maybe you growing up with your grandparents. I did both, you know what I'm saying? My mother was there, but we had to live with my grandparents a while, but that's another story. But just growing up in the hood and growing up around your friends who just go through different circumstances, you're gonna go through that. Even I wanted to be a little Crip back in the day and wanted to hang out with the Crips, and I had friends when I was in middle school who was Bloods, and man, and if you really want to be down, if you really want to be down with these cats, hold on, man, it's messing with me. If you really want to be down with these cats, you really have to take the game serious. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't no playing, no faking and shaking about it. And when I realized let me put it like that. When I realized that the extent that it took to really be one of the best in those fields, I realized it wasn't for me because I'm a guy. I like to be the best at what I do. Anything that I touch and I put my hands on, especially if it's something I'm investing my time into, I want to make it the best. I want to be the best athlete when I was an athlete like that. I want to be the best student when I was in class. When I was in the hood, um, if I was being a musician, I wanted to be the best musician. But even when I gave my shots, is just trying to be on the block or whatever. Y'all, for those that know me, man, my stepdad who raised me, he turned out he ended up being a smoker. When I was in the 6th grade, he got on that work and we ended up losing our house. But when he got out the penitentiary, he showed me a lot of things that overexposed me to some elements that I probably shouldn't have been exposed to. But that's another story. But it exposes you, right? And so you may think that during the meantime that that's the way to get it. Like, I gotta get it. You want the instant gratification. I gotta have it, right? But sometimes that instant gratification is not worth your long-term satisfaction. Now, if I could tell a youngster back then, young Teno, a young man, young Red, with a lot of my partners back in the day, that you can make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month at 21, 22 years old, just off a job. You probably won't believe it. You're like, man, please. Maybe even less. Maybe like 4,000, 5,000. Let's just say on the low end, 4,000, 5,000. Just off a job at 21, 22 years old. You wouldn't believe it, but you would be astonished, because to a youngster, that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of cats going out here hitting licks for. Believe me. They going out here hitting licks for $4,000, $5,000, risking their lives and their freedom behind change. And so and then you out here robbing people, and a lot of you robbing each other and killing each other and doing the destruction to ourselves behind nothing, right? So my challenge is to make sure our youngsters are exposed to, going to college. Man, whatever we just say, everybody got their own perspective on the military. That's neither here nor there. But I'm an entrepreneur, and I feel like that whatever you decide to do to set your base to be able to invest in whatever you want to invest in long term, stock markets, developing a product, whatever the case may be, just having a home-based business, a storefront, whatever. But you do need income to start all of that. You need capital. And instead of a lot of us choosing the wrong way, because a lot of us are getting involved in these violent situations. You're not even making money. The man who making the money is, he may make it or not, but a lot of guys are on the low end, and y'all doing taking the brunt of the hit, and not even really benefiting from it. And then on the other end, we got white supremacy out here banging us up on the other side. We got the criminal justice system. We got the miseducation. We got so many other facets fighting us. Why continue to fight each other? Now, that's gonna bring me back to the rap game. Oh, rap game. Now, this is why I don't really give respect to a lot of the old rappers. I don't even really, I put it like they said old rapper, but the guys who kind of told Dolores Tucker and them back in the day that she had misconceptions, and that the things that she's predicted would happen would not happen. As far as, when she said that calling each other B, the women's B's and H's on the music, so nonchalantly, using the N-word just so loosely, would not have effects on us 20, 30 years later in our community. Well, it turns out she was right. And not only has it had such a detrimental effect on our community, you don't even know you could put the genie back into the bottle. You don't know it. I mean, you can try, but you don't necessarily know if that's gonna even work. But you gotta try, and believe that the youth, they need a lot of molding. So let's say we got a lot of displaced youth out there. We need to make sure that we have community centers or organizations that can provide for those misplaced youth during those 18 years of growing up, of learning. Because at the end of the day, 18 years, to be honest, is really not that long compared to the rest of your life. 18 years, you make sure that kid is educated, make sure that kid is nurtured, and given some opportunities, exposed to opportunities. By the time that kid gets 19, 20, 21, they're in college or they're in an institution of higher learning, the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years of their life, they will appreciate that. Versus letting these kids get out here and be raised by entities or just be out here self-raising themselves. We got to do more for our people, and we got to make a stand little by little, as much as possible. I'm only making this video just because I feel like that the little influence that I have, you know, I want it to be used in the right way. Because when I was growing up as a youngster, and I know a lot of youngsters don't care how I grew up, but when I grew up, I wanted to do the same thing. I used to listen to P. One of my favorite rappers is C Murder, and I like C Murder because nobody ever, you never went at C Murder sideways. You never went at Corey Miller sideways. It was just a bunch of respect, and really never went at the whole No Limit sideways. You just knew what it was. It was respect. So I really liked that group, but I realized that not only with that group, I like listen to Hot Boys, but a lot of the times I listen. A lot of the times I used to listen to 3 6 Mafia, of course. A lot of the time when you listen to that music, it channels the energy in your body, and sometimes you do things. When you get older, you maybe not necessarily as proud of. Just, I ain't gonna say that music made you do it, but just the exposure to different things and how people did things around the country. They put ideas in your head, and then the energy, it all comes together and then there you go. So, anyways, man, I just not trying to say it's just all based on the music, but the music does create an energy. When you chant songs, and when you go to these concerts, it's a lot of people around, and they get to chant music, and that generates